Here we go. Here we go. On the link, let's go. Hello, hello. You should hear the audio. All right. How we doing, Megsy? Can you hear me? Sweet. All right, as promised, we're going to tear apart this military press. So, like I said last week, as therapists, our language is biomechanics, and if we're not speaking the same language, well, then we're not really helping the profession. That's why this is so important. Test-taking commandment number 2. Last week, test-taking commandment number 1, read everything correctly. Now, test-taking commandment number 2, can you envision what the test is asking? Can you envision that activity? So, that'll be what we'll be thinking about on top of commandment number 1 today. My information comes from the Essentials of Kinesiology book and Trail Guide for the Body. Objectives, just like last week. Number 1, read test questions correctly. 2, envisioning exactly what's happening in the question. Arthrokinematics, osteokinematics, concentric, eccentric, open and closed chain activities. All these things are incorporated into these questions, what we'll be talking about today with the military press. Oh, before I move on to that, what I want to say is this, even if you know these topics individually, arthro, osteo, all of that, these test questions are going to show you why you need to make connections so that you can find the right answer. Because rarely are the questions one level. We'll start off easy and we'll get progressively harder. So, first question, and I'm going to put a poll up in the chat so you can hit true or false to answer this question. So while you're reading it, I'll put it up. So feel free. There's your military press in action. There we got all 3 votes. The correct answer. Whoops. Let me get my pen out here. You don't? 3 people answered it. I think. Hello, I'm late. My monitor broke. Hey, dude, no worries, man. You made it. Glad you're here. Did you, Christy, did you see the true false? Oh, okay. Cool. Gina, are you seeing the true false, I'm assuming? So, the question, the patient is performing military presses. This is an example of a closed chain activity. Let's end this poll. And we got, okay, thanks, Gina. Appreciate it. We had 67% of you, I think, pick false. The answer is false. So remember, whenever something is false, you can prove it's false by making it true. So the patient's performing military presses, true in that video. This is an example of a closed chain, wrong. What should the answer be? This is how you use true, false to check your knowledge. Don't just get it right for the right reasons. So, because that's an open chain activity, and if you're wondering why that's open chain, well, it's because the distal extremity is moving. Hence open chain. Oh, Jesse voted. Cool. All right. Next question. So that's the easiest one. Easy peasy. Question 2. The patient is performing military presses. As the patient moves the weight away from the earth, the triceps are contracting concentrically to extend the elbow. It is windy out there, Megan. Christy. Hey, Megan, were you able to see it now? We're going to end the poll. And everyone's getting that right with 100% of you picking true because it is true. Awesome. So when you start at the bottom, this is how you should always establish muscles. So you start at the bottom. Then as I go through it, whoops. So start the bottom, finish. Now the elbow is extended. What extends the elbow per your flashcards and book? Triceps. Awesome. Sorry, Megsy, I don't know what's up. All right. Question number 3. Whoops. I didn't put the poll out, guys. Sorry about that. Jeez. Poll question should be coming out in just a sec. All right, we're going to come out with the answer here in a second. The patient's performing military presses. As the patient moves the weight away from the earth, okay, so moving away from the earth means every muscle contraction. We haven't read to the bottom of this, but as soon as I know the direction, I need to be making sure, is it concentric? If we're moving away from the earth, it's concentric. So keep that in mind. As we're moving the weights away from the earth, the upper and lower traps plus the serratus anterior are contracting, okay, concentrically, so we know this is true at least, to upwardly rotate the scapula. So long story short, this question is asking, are the lower, upper traps and serratus, are they upward rotators? The answer is yes, they are upward rotators. Now, are they involved in this exercise? And if we stop, so we're going to start and then stop as I abduct. That is upward rotation that is required. So upward rotation is occurring at the scapula. The answer is true. Good job. We got 100%. That's what I'm talking about. Means we're learning and getting better. Next question. The weather here, Jesse, is sunny and windy. It's going to be like 50. patient is performing military presses. As the patient lowers the weights back towards the earth, the biceps brachii are contracting eccentrically to control the elbow as it flexes. What is it? Oh, I can see we have dissension in the ranks. Somebody else is going to vote to break the tie. And if we were doing this over a Zoom situation, Gina, you would know that I would make the false person prove it. Oh, 4 votes. Nice. All right. I'm going to end that. Here's our results. 75 pick false. So let's go through it. The patient is performing military presses. True. As the patient lowers the weights back towards the earth, eccentric it needs to be. The biceps brachii, so here's our muscle, are contracting eccentrically. We love that. To control the elbow as it flexes. So let's make sure the elbow is flexing. Whoops. So as it's coming down towards the earth, the elbow is clearly flexing. So this is true also. So now the final question is, are the biceps brachii involved in controlling that motion at the elbow? And the answer is false. Never change the muscle unless you change the direction of the force or resistance. So since the triceps were the correct answer earlier when you're pushing away from the earth, the triceps eccentrically as you're coming back down. So 3 out of 4, you got that right. Good job. That's a tough one. Eccentrics are always get you. The patient is performing military presses. As the patient moves the weight away from the earth, damage to the dorsal scapular nerve will weaken the upward rotators, which are crucial for doing this exercise. As the patient moves the weight away from the earth, damage to the dorsal scapular nerve will weaken the upward rotators, which are crucial for doing this exercise. So, again, as we're working through this, as the patient moves the weight away from the earth, it should be concentric, and concentric's not anywhere in here, so that's actually not going to matter. Damage to the dorsal scapular nerve, so they're giving us a nerve here, will weaken the upward rotators, which are crucial. And we know they are because we had a question earlier that said, hey, we need the lower trap, upper trap, and serratus to do upward rotation. So, the main question is, does the dorsal scapular nerve innervate any of the upward rotators? And did I not post the poll? Oh, there it is. We got some trues and falses. We got a mixture. The answer is false. The dorsal scapular nerve does not innervate any of the upward rotators. But this might be a good nerve for next week. Oh, come on. So this question here, the patient is performing military presses. True. As the patient adducts his shoulder to return the weight back towards the earth. Coming back towards the earth needs to be eccentric. The lats are contracting eccentrically to control shoulder adduction. Let's get 100% on this. Let's do it. Oh, we can't get 100. We got dissension. Oh, and with 4 votes, we're 50-50. All right, let's work our way through it. We obviously know it's military press. As the patient adducts his shoulder to return the weight back. Is that happening? Is adduction occurring? Yes, it is occurring. It's moving back. We have eccentric. So really we need to figure out, are the lats involved in a military press? This is what it all comes down to. And the answer is false. The lats are not involved in the military press. Next question. The patient is performing military presses. As the patient moves the weight away from the earth, damage to the axillary nerve will impair shoulder abduction strength. We got 1 vote in, 2 votes in. I'm going to end it. Let's go through. Patients performing military presses as the patient moves the weight away from the earth. So better be concentric. Damage to the axillary nerve will impair shoulder abduction strength. So first off, am I abducting as I move away from the earth? You betcha. I sure am. So abduction is occurring. Let's see. So what muscle abducts the shoulder? And we should be saying one of the best answers, the deltoids or deltoid. So now it comes down to, do you know if this nerve innervates the deltoids? And the answer is true. Awesome. All right, we got 2 more questions. We're going to pull in some arthrokinematics. So for this one, the patient's performing a military press or military presses. When the head of the humerus is gliding inferior, the delts are concentrically contracting to abduct the GH joint. Someone was fast on that one. Nice. All right. Everyone is in agreement. So that's cool. So let's see. Are you correct in your agreement? So when the head of the humerus is gliding inferior. So since the head of the humerus is gliding inferior, that means it's rolling superior. So if it's rolling superior, the motion that's occurring is abduction. Awesome. Abduction. So, and it's moving away from the earth. So whatever muscle is doing it is concentrically contracting. And we agree abduction is happening. So the question is, are the delts doing that? And absolutely. We know that from the other question. The delts are doing this. Awesome. Now, some of you may recognize this question. If you do, hopefully you get it right. But I really enjoyed this question. I did this the other day with Gina and her group. Let's see if she remembers. I got the polls coming out. So the patient is performing an exercise that requires the head of the humerus to glide inferior in the glenoid fossa. Damage to which nerve will most adversely affect this activity? A couple layers here, but actually with some of the information we've already gone over today, we should be able to get this right. Even if you've never seen this question before, it's possible. All right, here we go. We got people saying B, so let's see. The patient's performing an exercise that requires the head of the humerus to glide inferior, which means, we know this from the previous question, we're looking at shoulder abduction. So we previously knew abduction was, we picked the delts, okay, and that's the axillary. So, do we see axillary over here? No, of course not. Ah, Brooks, jeez. So, well, is there another muscle that will abduct the shoulder? Yes. The supraspinatus. What's its nerve? The suprascapular nerve. So that's going to, that's not over here. Great. Well, if none of the muscles that abduct the shoulder are over here, how can there be a right answer? Because when you're thinking about the shoulder, you have to think about that scapula. So what type of rotation is occurring at the scapula when you abduct? It's going to be upward rotation. And what are our upward rotators? Well, we talked about this earlier. Lower traps, upper traps, serratus anterior. So, all right. Well, what nerve innervates the serratus anterior? Think about it. Think about it. Long thoracic. All right, Brooks, do you have that? No, that's not over here. Great. So, lower traps and upper traps. Now, I'm not going to tell you the answer yet because let's say that's the only nerve you didn't know. You're like, oh, great. The only one I don't know is the one that's left. And now that hasn't helped me narrow any of this down. That's fine. But this is process of elimination. If you know some of these other nerves, you can. So we're looking for the nerve for the lower traps and upper traps. Thoracodorsal, if you know that's the lats, you can probably say, okay, lats and upper traps do the opposite action on the scapula. So we're going to get rid of that. So I know it's not thoracodorsal. Subscapular nerve is going to do internal rotation because the subscapularis, it's out of here. Musculocutaneous is going to do bicep flexion, or the bicep. So you're going to say odds are it's not that one. Thus, you're left with accessory, which is true. So if you didn't know the accessory or cranial nerve 11, if you didn't know that that nerve innervated the upper and lower traps, you can use the tool of process of elimination to get it down. If you know other things, then you can cross things off. That's why I tell people you don't need to know the answers. all the time. Sometimes you just need to know enough to cross off things that you know can't be right. So, awesome job on that. That's a tough question. And some of you have already seen this question before. So now what? Well, we are done with the military press today. Of course, like always, after any type of assessment, you should self-assess how you did. What do you need to study? One of the main reasons we're doing this here is so that you can see, well, do I need to study muscles, nerves? What is it I don't know? So if you're struggling with muscles and basic anatomy, I highly recommend you checking out the description and the link on this for my muscle anatomy study strategy. And you can use that concept to apply to a lot of other things to study. Also, you can set up some private sessions with me, and I can go over some nerves with you. I did that with Gina and her group the other day. They said it was pretty beneficial. I appreciate that. So yeah, I mean, I can show you strategies and techniques to learn things so you can do test questions like this. Because your book, even if you had it, doesn't give you these answers because it never asks you questions like this. And that's our biomechanics literacy. So I'll be doing another session for the biomechanics literacy next Saturday, 10 Mountain Time. So we'll get that going. What do we got here? Yeah, glad, Jesse. That's awesome. It's awesome. Thanks, Gina. I was hoping, because you've heard 2 explanations for that now. I'd like that second explanation way better. Way better. But that's, that's we're always learning. We're always building. We're growing, getting better. So I'm going to do the lat pull up or chin up next week. So I don't know if I put the link in the description, but I'll have it out again so you can get those PowerPoint presentations. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the push up as well next week. So I'm going to go ahead and get 2 of them out because the following Saturday, I will not be going live. Megan and I are going to take a break and get into the mountains for a couple days. So we're going to finish off the biomechanics literacy, this current lesson playlist of stuff next Saturday with the chin up and push up. So if you're thinking about studying and being prepared for those, study your muscles, nerves, motions, arthrokinematics, and open closed chain eccentrics. Let's see if you can get 100 next week on those. So let's see what else we got. Oh yeah, and the most important thing, have an awesome day. The sun's shining, weather looks good, mountains are clear here. Hope wherever you're at, no matter what the weather is, you have a lot of gratitude for the fact that you get to experience that weather. Have an awesome day. You guys rock. See you later.